Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
Here we are, another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Hey, Peter.
Morning, Bill. How you doing?
I'm okay. Episode number 205, Peter. 205. Yeah,
Where's
exactly.
the time go?
Exactly. Name of the episode: How to easily flip sellers' objections into profitable deals ethically and honestly. How to easily flip sellers' objections and profitable deals ethically and honestly. So here we go.
Okay.
So many investors are money motivated and only think about their benefit to doing deals. They forget that the seller has to agree to the deal.
Yeah.
In fact, I have found when I do deals without the money or do the money last, I do much bigger deals.
No, it totally makes sense.
Let me see here. I do bigger deals. How do you ethically and honestly arrange it so your seller becomes loyal to you and won't even dream of doing their deal with someone else? This credibility is earned, not bought.
Oh, yeah.
So why do you do the money first? That's my question. This one talent usually turns regular real estate investors from being Clark Kent to being Superman. How's that?
Off come the glasses. Out comes the red cape.
Right.
Hey,
No.
Does he have dollar signs on his chest
Yeah, right?
instead of an S?
Knowing how to do what the great Dan Kennedy says, going from pest to welcome guest, not only makes more deals, but bigger profitable deals. In this podcast, we will not be doing the normal, Peter. We're not doing the normal today.
Wait a minute.
Go figure.
Normal.
Go figure. I would do something normal, right? But something a lot different. Okay? We will bust out all the theory and walk down the path of doing today. We're going to do shit today, Peter. You and I. Yeah, you and I. Here's how. What Pete and I are going to do today is a whole lot of role playing.
Yup.
So you hear it live, you write down our answers, then you do it yourself as soon as you are done listening to this recording. Most gurus charge thousands of dollars. I know I've paid it. Thousands of dollars for a seminar to learn this stuff. And today, I'm going to give it to you for free on a silver platter. So take notes, please.
No, really, take notes.
Here we go, Peter.
Okay.
Are you ready? Actually, I just noticed that I'm going to distract for a second because I didn't change our names.
Oh.
And we have Pete and Mary Coca-Cola there.
Oh, I never see that until it's up on the screen, and yeah. She's not, she'll be here later. No, she's not coming today. She's taking care of her sick sister who fell at the supermarket and broke her femur and kind of near her hip.
Oh my God.
So she goes over once a week and takes care of her for the day, then someone else goes.
Yeah.
Make sure the husband is eating real food and not just crap. Men are.
Yes. I be one. All right, here we go, Peter. Enough of that.
Okay.
I really, 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 in case you didn't get it, really need to start off with, I have spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars learning what I'm about to do with you and show you how to do.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been hanging around with you, money flies out. But then it comes in.
Yeah, one thing that you know about me, and in fact, this took my wife a bunch of years to learn. I might spend a lot of money on education, but I implement it.
Oh yeah, you use it. It's
Yeah,
okay as long as you use it.
I definitely use it, and there are few things in my life. I mean, there are some, but there are a few things in my life where I would spend $2,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 and not make that money back, usually double.
Yeah.
Now, whether I keep it implemented after I make my money is where my attention span goes in. Because sometimes once I make the money back, I walk away and I go find something different. All right, so I'm going to start this over again. So I really, 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 really need you. I want to start off today because I want you to know that what you're about to learn from Pete and I has cost me tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And countless, and I mean this is no hype, countless thousands and thousands of hours figuring it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
this
true.
is no lie. I mean, I just, if you don't believe me, then this podcast is not for you. Just
Bill,
go away.
Bill, you know what the reference on this is? There's a book, I think it's called Outliers, a friend of mine gave to me. And it's out there, people have run across it. And there's a point in the book, and it says if you want to be professional at something, you have to spend something like 5,000 hours to get good at it. Whether it's music, football, a job, dancing, I don't know, whatever it is, right? And then if you want to be like the best, you got to do like about 10,000. You want to be the Beatles? 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And if you look, people who are successful have spent that much time. I've spent tens of thousands of hours just on the guitar and giving lessons. People ask me, how do you do something? And go, bang, and it's not, how do you know that?
Right.
20,000 hours later, duh. So it's the only way these things can happen, and anybody that's good has done that.
Right.
So it's not like, believe it or not, it's the only way it happens.
I don't want to discredit what you just said, but it's a little different than sitting in my room playing my guitar, because I have to sit and I have to find, I have to go find, then I have to pre-screen the seller and then go sit in their living room for 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm not discrediting what you're saying at all because it's a lot. But
yeah, well, I've worked with audiences where you have to figure out how to handle an audience, you have to figure out how to handle the person, whatever it is. It's a lot of hours to get good at whatever it is. Right. So that's just the facts.
So because of this, Peter, I've only done this one other time, and I don't remember what episode it was because I don't want to bring attention to it, but I'm going to ask our listeners up front to subscribe to our podcast. I want subscriptions and I want reviews. In fact, I've actually had the thoughts of taking this episode down if I don't get sufficient reviews. Now, I've done that with one other episode, okay? I did this before. The episode was when I went over my presentation pack that I sell for not hundreds, but $1,000.
Yeah.
And you can't really get it unless you're a coaching client, actually, because I want to make sure you know how to use it, right? Yeah. So I don't need your $1,000 more than you need to know how I do it, okay? And I'm being arrogant there, but it's like, your $1,000 will be like, whoopee, for me, but what you get out of it will make you hundreds of thousands of dollars and buy you millions of dollars worth of real estate.
Yeah,
so
each time you use that, it's worth a few $1,000s. I mean, in the money you save on buying a house, you save thousands of dollars on buying the house. Every time.
Thousand. It reduces the price minimally $10,000. So on a $200,000 house, it saves you $20,000. Yeah. And a conversational, non-salesy, completely mathematical, logical way, so that nobody can say no to it unless they're just being a dick, which happens, right? And that's 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 1,000. Okay.
Well, these are things that we know as buyers, but to get the seller to understand it, you think you can just tell him and he buys it, he gets it, he understands it, and he believes it, and he gives in? No, until he really, really gets it, he doesn't. And this is how
So
you do it. So
what I did last time is I made this statement at the beginning of the podcast. I didn't get reviews, and I took the podcast down. I actually made a recording like something like, sorry, no reviews. I took it down. You know, I mean, I obviously beefed it up so that I wasn't such an asshole about it. But anyways, that's what I did. I took it down. So this is going to be the same type of podcast. To be honest with you, the reason why I would do something like this is for a few of my coaching clients, so that I can use this for them. So this to me is like a coaching session, which I charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars for. Okay, and I actually believe that I will probably transcribe this thing so that I can put it in a book form and use it for my coaching clients, and maybe publish it. I don't know if I'll ever publish it, but minimally use it for my coaching clients. Okay, so if I don't get reviews and if I don't hear from my listeners and you don't get off your butt and like give me some exchange for this, then too bad. And if you think you're going to download it, because some people do that, they'll download it and they'll like use it for themselves, then that tells me where you are as a human being, and that tells me how you're going to be in deals, because you only care about you. You don't care about the people you're dealing with. So let me know how that karma works out for you, okay?
yeah.
Also, I would feel like I would have exchange in abundance, because we are going to give exchange in abundance today. I mean, today is going to be a hot thing, okay? If you really, really want to give me exchange in abundance, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/testimonials, or at the top of the page, click on Proof It Works. Go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top of the page, there's a button that says Proof It Works, and you could actually leave a testimonial there. You could leave a video, a written, an audio, whatever thing you want to do. Just leave a testimonial that you've bought a house or you've listened to our podcast and what you got out of it, and that would totally rock my world. I get a few of those, and this podcast will stay up forever and ever and ever. Okay? So, make sense, Peter?
Absolutely.
Has my message been loud and clear?
Hey, Bill, what side of the bed did you get up off this morning?
Okay, enough of that. Here's what we're going to do, Peter. So you had no idea what we were going to do, okay? Because I usually don't tell you the podcast name until we go live, because I want it to be improv and I want your feedback. I don't want it to be staged or anything like that, right? I want it to be real. So Peter has no idea what we're doing until I told him this morning. So he's not scripted, all right? But he's been in enough houses that he's quite aware of what most sellers say. Agree, Peter?
Because you've said this before, but people got to understand, unless you got this in your spiel in a second, but people come up with the same things. They have the same questions, the same concerns. It's not like random. It's the same topic we're dealing with, the same subject. So they do have some of all the same questions. So you get used to it after a while.
They might word it a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's the same question.
Yeah.
You know, because people have different personalities.
Yeah.
So what Peter's going to do is Peter's going to be the seller, okay? And he's going to give me the objections or the rebuttals, okay? So let me just be clear here. What this means to me is a rebuttal is something that causes you to stop doing what you were doing and interferes your flow or your intention. That's what it is. It's in sales, we call it a misdirector. So like you're on I-95 going from Connecticut to Florida, and next thing you know, you're on I-70 in Pennsylvania, if there's an I-70 in Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? Because
Bill, it's funny. On the way home from Florida, we had two cars, my car and my kid's car. We all went with a bunch of people. On the way home, one of my sons was sleeping. The other one was driving. My other son wakes up and goes, "What are we doing in Philadelphia?" I swear to God, they were in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I beat him home, needless to say.
Yeah.
But see, I misdirected you.
So I was just going to say, perfect example of a misdirector, Peter. Perfect example. All right?
Yeah.
Next. This is different than my script, so you have to be careful of how you understand this, right? This is different than the scripts. You should know these cold, or you should know the scripts cold, and then know these cold. So this is different than a script, okay? And let me explain. A script is where you originate or you start the communication.
Mm-hmm.
This is, what we're going to teach you today is how you respond to questions or concerns. Sometimes the customer's trying to stall and not do the deal because they're uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. So what this does is, if you think about it, it's like an onion, and you need to peel back the layers of the onion to get to the real reason why somebody's doing something, okay? And this will help you do that, all right? So if you want to get my scripts, go to flippinghouses4rookies.com/free stuff. The scripts are there. This is not scripts. This is when somebody comes off the script, which is why I'm doing this, because I've had a lot of people ask me, what happens if they go off script? These are some of the things that will cause the off scriptness, okay? So,
Bill, can you just take a minute and tell people why this is so important? I mean, you know it so well. I think you're missing something, that any one of these things that person throws at you, if you don't answer it correctly, your deal is gone.
So at the end of the day, the only way to make an offer creatively on pretty houses, because this is all about pretty houses. This is not about ugly houses. This is all about pretty houses, okay? Because an ugly house is just numbers. You're just buying a house.
Yeah.
Here, what you're doing is you're solving problems, okay? But at the end of the day, if you don't keep the communication flowing long enough, you will not get all the information you need. Okay?
You know what it reminds me of? A hurdle race.
Yeah?
Yeah, when you're running around the track, then there's a hurdle. You got to jump over it. Then another hurdle comes. You got to jump over it. And if you trip on one, everybody beats you. You can get back up, but you're going to lose.
Right.
I think these are all like hurdles that people throw at you, and you have to get over every one of them to get across the finish line.
Sure. That makes total sense.
That's my analogy.
Yeah.
I just want people to know why you're saying this is so important as a podcast, that you'll take it down if you don't get good response, because you won't have a deal if one of these gets in your way. And there's like a dozen of these that can happen in a conversation.
Right.
4 or 5 easily. Any one conversation. That
So-
makes sense.
So the point that I'm trying to make here is that you're not always trying to, it's not like a battle, like who's right and who's wrong. You're not even trying to always convince the person that your way is better. And what I try to do is I try to get the seller to work through in their own mind how it could be.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, I had a coaching client just before we started this call. I had a coaching client telling me that he wants to do a wholesale deal, right? Which is a wholesale, retail type of a deal, right? And so I asked him, what kind of deal are you thinking? Because it makes a difference. Is it a subject to deal? Is it a slot deal? Is it a, is it a lease option? Is it owner financed? It's like, because I have to manufacture in my head the paperwork.
Sure.
And he was like, what do you mean? So all I'm saying is that at the end of the day, the house is worth, they owe 185 or something like that, and the house is worth 200. So it had an 88 or 89% loan to value ratio. Mm-hmm. And they want all cash. I'm like, bye, see ya.
Yeah.
That's not a deal, So he's not given me enough information to fully structure that deal. So when you talk to the person, what you're going to do is you're going to undig more and more and more. And if you do it correctly and ask the right questions and follow what we're going to do right now, you will soon realize that the offer will just drop in your lap. It'll just show up. Either you'll just recognize it clear as day, or you will actually have the seller make an offer to you. Okay? So because the seller makes you the offer, he's going to love this type of deal, right? Because he's making you an offer. And if you say yes, you give him exactly what he wants, and causes him to go. It causes you to go from a pest to a welcome guest, right? Because if you talk to them enough and handle their questions, in other words, like you said, you get over the hurdles, you'll sooner or later get to the end of the race where you can talk about, oh my God, when I went over a hurdle this, my leg felt like that, you know what I mean? And once you go through it, you can talk about it later, right? So learn what we're going to talk about today. Learn these cold, and you will survive and thrive in creative real estate business, because this is the meat and potatoes. It's not sexy. It's whenever I try to teach this in a seminar, it's the least attended seminars. And I stopped doing it because people don't think they know it or they need it. Or people think they know it and they don't need it. Right? I mean,
they don't want to confront it.
Well, they think they can shoot from the hip or the lip.
Yeah.
Right? They think that they can just go into a house and have all the right answers. Right? Never really constructing the deal in their head before they go there. Right? And I'm going to tell you, you're not making deals that way. Unless you figure this stuff out, you're not making deals that way. Right? So if you have, now listen to this, Peter, and then we're going to start, okay? I have one more thing to read. So listen to this, because this is worth the entire podcast. This will, if you fully understand what I'm about to tell you, your life, not your real estate life, your life will change. It will change with your spouse. It will change with your boss. It will change with your kid. Hell, it'll change with the grocery clerk if you listen to what I'm going to tell you. And I suggest you, if you're listening to this recording after the fact, you should rewind this at least a few times. I'd say 10 times, but at least 2 or 3 times, and listen to this, what I'm going to tell you, because this is deep, Peter. This is deep, okay? But it sounds simple, so most people won't take it that way. So you ready?
Yeah.
If you have more great answers than a seller has questions, the lack of confidence and stress of doing deals melts away and your confidence soars. I'm going to read that again. If you have more great answers than a seller has questions, the lack of confidence and stress of doing deals melts away and your confidence soars. Your words determine what you get in life, which is why we are building this mini playbook today. So that's all I got to say.
No, that's true.
Done.
The first time you said it, I went, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we all know somebody like that no matter what you say, he's got a good response. Sometimes he's a wise Alec, maybe, but sometimes he just has a correct answer, and the guy wins in life, and someone else like, I don't know, or just comes up back with a stupid response, so he doesn't get anywhere.
Yep.
He's not fun to talk to.
All right, so I want to just get started. Enough talking about it, because I promised that we wouldn't do that. So what I want to do is I want to go through, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10, half a dozen, whatever you can think of. I want you to give me what, some of the common things that you hear. Some of them might not even be objections. They just might be statements. You can make it like a statement. Yeah. Just things that we've heard in houses. Okay. And then I'm not gonna kind of go off on like a tangent on my personality and the way I would say it. I'm gonna just try to keep it like kind of short and sweet, and then you can, meaning the listener, can actually add your own jazz to it. Don't change the words so much, but add your own jazz to it, your own mojo, your own juice. Okay.
Well, you got to say it like you're saying it, not like you read it somewhere or heard it somewhere.
Right. Well,
got to be genuine.
In the beginning, I don't even care if you just read it, because that would be better than what you're doing. Okay.
Oh yeah, especially if it's on a phone.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't see you reading it. So, all right, Peter, give it to me. Hit me, Peter. Hit me.
So you're gonna start like we're gonna make like we're doing a a sale, then I
No.
just do it.
No, just kind of just
So
give
just
me
one.
random questions that you've heard, like in the house or on the phone, or because I was going to do that. I was going to kind of I was thinking that we could do a role play, like if I was buying a house. But I think this is much better. I want this to be like a playbook. So when you encounter these questions, you know what to say instead of because it's not a script. That's what made me realize that we're not role playing a script. We're just hitting these could be the first 30 seconds you talk to somebody, or it could be after you've talked to them for an hour. It could come up.
Oh, yeah, things come up. Okay, I got it. All right.
Okay.
So if we were in a house and you're talking, this is a pretty house where we're talking about rent to own, or no, rent, rent to own, and a lease. So one of the common things I, as a seller, would say is so you want to lease my house instead of buying it? So how does that work? This lease and this option thing. How does this work?
So the question is, what is a lease option?
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, so it would go something like this. So it would be, that's when we simply pay your monthly expenses until we or our tenant can get a loan to pay you in full. It is how you can collect rent but not have all the landlord obligations. That's huge. It's how you can collect rent and not pay all the landlord or not have all the landlord obligations. So it's how you can collect rent and not have all the landlord obligations, like repairs, maintenance, and we handle all the landlording stuff. And most important, the deed stays in your name, so you can benefit from things like the mortgage principal reduction, tax write-offs. You still own the house, so you get all those benefits of owning the house. So you get all the benefits, and you get to be a kind of like a bank, right? Where you receive payments, but you have none of the landlording obligations. Okay, so you got that?
Okay.
So at the end of each one of these, I'm going to give you a jewel. I'm going to give you a question that you could ask to continue the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Because that's important. Because that's what we're doing here. We're trying to keep the flow going, right? So when I get all done, the question would be, which you've heard, but some of these you haven't. You've heard me say them, but you haven't seen them in writing, right? I'm sure I'm going to pop out with something anyway. So the question you would ask once you're done explaining this would be, that wouldn't work for you, would it? And it's a negative statement, and I've heard so much flashback from this. So here's my response. If you don't like what I just said, that wouldn't work for you, would it? Because you think it's a grammar problem, or then don't do it, and do less deals. That's all. Don't cry to me when you don't have a full bank account, or you're not making money with real estate. Just leave me alone. Go away.
Bill, that question popped up a few months ago. Started using it, and I thought that was genius, because if you think about it, if you chase somebody, they run away.
Yeah.
If you pull away, it's like dating. If you pull away a little bit, they come towards you.
Right.
It's if you push too hard, the seller's going to be worried that you're pushing too hard. Push. Push. If you push, they're going to run.
Right.
If you take it easy, they're like, how do you
So,
you wouldn't want to do that. They go, well, no, it'll be okay.
To your point, one of the things that I always say, and you've heard me say this, is this house really isn't for me.
Oh my God! I'm standing in a house. I'm looking around. It's right down the street from me. I still pass it. I still look at it. The one that got away, but it really didn't, because we're 5 minutes, and the first thing you say is, "Oh, I don't think this is a house for me." Like I'm shaking, trying not to move, shaking inside, like, Bill, what the hell? But then I saw where you were going with it. Because the conversation went on for another half an hour. We went to the store, we sat down, we had coffee and donuts. It kept going. But go ahead. Why'd you do that?
Or I'll say to them, I'm not your buyer.
Yeah.
So it just disarms them on the point that they're like, he's trying to sell me something.
Yeah, dude, he's going to pressure me now.
Right.
And you go like, nah, I don't even want it.
Yeah.
I don't even want it.
Exactly.
You make me buy it. Make me.
Sometimes
really?
I'm like that. Sometimes I'm like that.
No, but I mean, I'm over exaggerating, but that's kind of what's happening in the background. So,
and you know what? When I say it, I mean it, because I haven't gotten enough information to make this deal give me goosebumps yet.
Yeah, and at that point, you really don't think you are the buyer. You're not playing them. You really don't think you are. It's true.
Right. And then you just keep communicating and keep handling these hurdles, as you put them, these rebuttals and these concerns. And then next thing you know, something pops out like, what? Oh my God, I could turn this into a deal.
Yeah. Okay.
It always happens that way. All right, Peter, give me another question.
Well, after talking about like the lease and you have to wait and all that, a common thing is, I think I'd rather list it with a realtor so I can just get my money.
My favorite. My favorite. Okay, you could do that. They could. So tell them, okay, you could do that. But will the realtor make all of your payments? Do the repairs and the maintenance? Along with give you a definitive time when you can sell so you can move on with your life the way you want to? Plus, not charge you commission.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Not charge you commission for the sale of the property.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to happen that way? No.
No.
Right?
No.
So here's the question you ask once you get done saying that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a plan on where you're going to go once you sell the house?
Oh.
See.
Right.
See, what we don't talk about enough, because I don't feel like people fully understand the depth of this, and even I don't understand it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But very, very often, so what we do is considered alternative, which is bullshit, because we were around before the realtors.
Yeah.
So what does alternative mean to you, Peter?
Well, it sounds like it's something rather than the norm.
Right.
Rather than what's normal, this is some sideline crackpot thing.
Right. So there's some other plan then, right?
Yeah.
So like you're automatically put in the position of plan B.
Yeah.
So when you ask the question, do you have a plan on where you're going to go once you sell the house? That elicits, what's plan A? What are you competing against?
Yeah.
And either at least if you know what you're competing against, you'll have some idea of how to either handle it or make a decision and say, well, I can't compete against that. Sorry. At least there's closure.
Right, because, I mean, in a situation like that, the person would say, well, I'm just moving to another house, and it's I can move anytime I want, and I'm not in a hurry. Those are a little tricky to deal with. But if the guy says, I only have a limited time, that I have to move someplace quickly, whether it's a job or whatever the reason is, the realtor can't guarantee the house is going to be sold in a month or two.
So let me give you,
right?
Let me give you two examples. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you two examples, and I've heard these. Well, I kind of wanted to move to XYZ Street or that side of the town, or this other town because it's closer to my job, and I'm tired of driving an hour a day.
Yeah.
So that's legitimate and it's plausible, but only if they get what they want, because they've been driving back and forth to this job for 10 years.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
Okay? Or something like, my son is in elementary school and the kids are bullying him and it's June and I want to put him in a new school system by September and I want to be in that neighborhood. And I found a house. So I got to move.
Right.
There's a big difference. And when you ask, do you have a plan on where you're going once you sell the house?
Yep.
It will pull that out so you know that plan A is there and you can find out what your competition is.
So is that something like on the script when we ask when do you want to move by?
Yeah.
Just to find, because that tells you when, really. The other guy,
Right.
he can wait a while. This one, they don't have a lot of time, which the realtor can't guarantee. We're standing right there. Well,
Right.
we'll buy the house today and you can move.
One more thing that I'd like to comment about this before we leave,
Mhm.
okay? And this is not meant to be derogatory, but it will sound that way. It will pull out of the conversation the lies or unattainable targets that the realtor promised them.
Oh.
Or it'll pull out of the conversation what the realtor probably didn't even say, but they manufactured in their own head, meaning the seller.
And wishful thinking?
Yeah, like my realtor says I can get 210,000. Well, I did comps in the highest piece of property. The last 4 properties that sold like next door, across the street, and down the block were 180.
Yeah.
Right? So, but at least you know what plan A is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Plan A is to get 210. Okay, so if you want 210, here's what I can do. Right? So once you have the problem, you can then work on that to try to overcome the lack of agreement with you and the seller on what you're going to do. Okay? Because that's what you want at the end of the day, is you want an agreement. Okay? Agreement could be, okay, go give it to a realtor, call me in a month. Or it could be, go figure out what your taxes are, and I'm going to go talk to my private lender and see if I can buy the property. Or whatever it may be. It could be, okay, it's Wednesday, I'll come back on Friday, I'll have all the documents, we can sign them, and as soon as I do that, it takes me 5 days to do a title search, and you can give me the keys, because the house is vacant. I mean, it doesn't matter what the agreement is. It could be you buying it or not buying it, but you have to put closure to it when you leave that house. Because otherwise, you'll do what I call, and pardon the French, but it's mental masturbation, because you're like playing with yourself in your own mind, and it's not meant to be a derogatory term. It just really explains what happens, because students think they have deals that they don't have. And then they complain to me because the seller ghosted them. In other words, they keep leaving them messages and they never call them back.
Yeah.
Well, it's because the student had the deal in his head and didn't get agreements with the seller the proper way. So the seller's like, oh, this guy was a jerk, I don't want to talk to him anymore. And they don't call him back. Or there's no benefit to the seller for calling them back. Because he like spilled the beans and he already knows what he can do, and the seller's not even interested in that.
I get a lot of phone calls, and I call some people back. The ones I call back are the ones that I think understand what I'm doing and they can help me. Other people are going blah 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 blah, and like, what are you calling me for? I don't call them back.
Right.
It reminds me of Mary and I went to a restaurant last year. We drove all the way down to the shore, and we said, "Can we have a burger?" He goes, "Yep." I don't want anything on it. The guy goes, "No, it comes with stuff." "No, I don't want anything on the burger." "No, the chef makes it with stuff on it." "I don't want stuff." Oh my God. We left.
Right.
So if you're in a house with somebody, you have to find out what they're trying to do and help them. Is this complicated?
No.
Like, what are you trying to do? What do you need? If you do
have-
that, it's called business.
So-
What kind of haircut do you want? What kind of shave do you want? What kind of whipped cream do you like? I mean, honestly, what do you want? Help them get that. Maybe they'll work with you. Is this complicated?
So let's put that in words. Ask them what's needed and wanted, and then give it to them. Which is the reason why we have 7 strategies, because there's 7 different ways you can pay them their profit. So first thing you have to ask them is, what do you think your profit is? Work through that so you make sure it's a real number, and then figure out how to pay them, which is one of the 7 strategies that we use. All right,
Yeah.
So I want to cover one more thing before we leave this, because if you have a vacant house, now the thing that I told you is the question was, do you have a plan on where you're going to go once the deal is done? That's if they're living in the house. But what happens if it's vacant, right?
Right.
So then you want to ask, what were you planning to do with the profits from this deal once it's done?
Mm.
Or what were you planning on? What were you planning on doing with the money once you close?
Yeah.
Because the only two reasons to sell a piece of property is to get money, because you want to do something else with it, or it's such a burden you want to relieve yourself of it. Those are the only two reasons why somebody would sell a piece of real estate. The tenants are driving you crazy, so you want out. Even though you're making $5,000 a month. You're like, I don't care. The $5,000 is not worth it. I'm sick and tired of these people bothering me.
Yeah.
Or, I got $200,000 worth of equity in my property. I want to sell it because I want to buy a condo in Florida for $100,000 and I want to give my daughter $100,000 for college. Right?
Yeah.
So the only two reasons. So if you ask, what are you going to do with the money? That question, I'm going to tell you right now, that question is another question that's worth listening to this podcast, because if you find that out, you're going to find out what plan A is. Plan A is to move to Florida, get a condo, and pay my daughter off, give my daughter $100,000 for her college. So if you work on that legitimately with your seller, you'll get a deal. They'll stick to you like glue, because who else is going to do that for them?
Yeah.
Right? It's like you swam across the river where they were standing on the other side of the river, and now you're building a bridge from where they are to where you want them to come to together. You and the seller are going to build this bridge together and come back to where you originally were. Right? Okay, good. You want to give me another one?
Yeah, so what do you say when people say they don't want to do terms?
Yeah, that comes up a lot. So I have I have like cue cards. So some of them, it sounds like I'm reading. It's because I kind of have, because still to this day, I still read some of my stuff. I don't memorize all of it. Okay, which tells you something right there, right? So you're saying that if I can bring you a tenant that will pay a higher price, do all the repairs and maintenance, pay you on time each month, pay you off in a year or two, you'd rather not get this deal done today and move on with your life?
So you're showing them all the benefits that terms do, because we usually can pay more on the house because
Right.
it's terms. There's time involved, so we can get a little more money in it for him. There's a buyer. He's spending money. He's paying the rent. So we have to go over the benefits, why it's good. Is that the point?
Yep, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I didn't even, and the reason why I have a cue card is because there's a lot of benefits. So you're saying, if I can bring you a tenant that will pay you a higher price, do all the repairs and maintenance, pay you on time each month, pay you off in a year or two, wouldn't you rather get this deal done today? I mean, I'm giving you everything that you can ask for.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a higher price. You don't have to do, you're going to collect in this statement, which I created a few months ago because I write so much these days. This statement is huge. This statement has so much power. This statement will cut 30 inches of steel like it's butter. You can collect rent and not be a landlord. That's huge, because they want the money, they don't want the hassles. Okay? Now, once we get done with that, we want to ask some questions, right? So
Yep.
I actually had 3 questions for this one. Okay? So
Oh.
the first one would be, so once you say that, so you would say, so you're saying, if I can bring you a tenant that will pay a higher price, do all the repairs and maintenance, pay you on time each month, pay you off in a year or two, you'd rather not get it done today and move on with your life? And they'll be like, well. So then the next question would be, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Yeah.
And they would say, well, give me my full asking price. That's a
Sure.
that's a common
Sure.
response, right? So you say, oh, okay. So you say, okay, if I give you all cash, what would you do with it?
So you're going back to find out what the plan is still.
Yeah, what's plan A?
Hmm.
Right? And then once they get all done, tell you their story, you ready? You drop the bomb.
Yeah.
What will you do if you don't find a cash buyer in your time frame?
Yeah. Because we're sitting there, you're standing there, you'll buy the house then, and he'll know that's going to come out, the payments will start coming in, especially if it's a vacant house. What's the realtor going to do? Promise anything? Could be 6 months, could be
Right.
12 months, nothing. You don't know.
Right. So when you withdraw like that, and sometimes, Peter, I do it blatantly, I do it unpolitely, I do it rude right in their kitchen. I take the air out of the room so they start gagging and they start dropping to the floor like dead flies. Because I'll do it like instantly, like so politely, I'll just suck the air out of the room and they'll realize, oh, now what am I going to do?
And what do you say?
Well, there's all different ways to do it, right? Like I'll tell you one that's rude, but I'll have somebody tell me about how this and how their realtor and that, and I'll just look at them and say, so how did that work out for you?
Yeah, I know that one. I know that line of yours. I use it too. It's really brutal.
You know, and it's like, you know, sometimes when you have a seller that's sitting at their kitchen table and they're a no best and they think they've got it all figured out, but yet you're sitting there and they're telling you they this and that, you have to pop the balloon.
Yeah.
To let them know, dude, that ain't gonna happen. And I mean that ain't gonna happen. I mean, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Ain't.
Yeah. Okay. So, you have to really sometimes there's a polite way to be a reluctant buyer, and there's a real sudden way to do it too. So sometimes you have to, if the conversation is going down a rabbit hole, sometimes you have to put them in what I call the cold ice water dip. You got to shock them, and then either it turns around, or you leave. One or the other.
Mm.
Okay. All right. Give me another one, Peter.
Well, here's one here you are, you know, some guy walks in smelling like cigars.
That's me.
Yeah. And I do too when I'm with you.
Yep.
And
Yay!
that's how I get even with my smoker wife.
There you go.
She goes, you stink. Like, oh, really? Anyways, the guy goes, looks after, like, you know, maybe talking for half an hour. He goes, well, why should I trust you?
That's
Right?
a good one.
Why should I trust you? I mean, you're making all these promises.
Right.
How does he know you're going to do it? Who the hell are you? You're not from the realtor. You don't have the license. You're not from the agency with the name and the sign in the front of the place. You're from Nowheresville, you know? Oh, I come from Wallingford. Ooh. I'm from Newington. Whoop-de-doo. So, how can I trust you?
So this sounds like a really complicated way to answer this, right?
Yep.
This is a deep subject. How could somebody trust you?
Well, how can you prove it?
Right.
You can't, can you?
So can I get you to buy me a cigar if I could do that? No, huh? You know I have the answer. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
You sure?
Go ahead. Go for it. I bet it's a real. I think I know the answer. Go ahead.
Okay.
It's really like boom. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have any reason not to trust me?
That's the one. Yeah. Yeah, really. You know, somebody will say something like that for no reason, right? And you can spend. I've had to do this in other jobs I've had, like, and you could be there all day trying to justify your existence and bring out books and things or whatever the hell, and there's no reason for them not to trust you. So you just say that. Well, have I given you a reason for you not to trust me? Why not?
Right.
And there isn't any.
Now, this is important, Peter. This is a major revolution. Is that the right word?
Revelation.
Revelation. Thank you. Yeah, I knew that was wrong. This is going to be a major revelation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if your seller in his mind is living in the past and evaluating with what he thinks is data, you're going to be in trouble, right? I get a kick out of well, let me make this statement, and I'll go off on a tangent on this, so I'm going to reel myself in, but thinking is overrated.
Yeah.
Reason why is because really the information that you hang on to in your mind is usually the things you did wrong, not the things you did right.
Oh, yeah.
What you remember is like you fell off the bicycle and you hurt your knee, and the pain is what you hang on to.
Yep.
You don't hang on to the pleasure. Now, you could mock up the pleasure in your head. You can say, oh, I did this once. But it's not that information, the pleasant information, is not in your subconscious mind. The only thing that's in your subconscious mind is the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So when I have a person that says they need to think about it, I know that they're going into their subconscious mind making irrational, unrational decisions.
Mm.
Right? So
you're talking about like other times they had trouble with a house, or his brother had trouble with a house.
So
the troubles.
Hang on. Yeah. So hang on. So knowing what I just told you, the theory behind it, listen to what happens. So you say, how do I know I can trust you?
Mm-hmm.
Let's role play it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So you're telling me this whole thing of how you can do all these things, but how do I know I can trust you?
Do you have any reason not to trust me? Let me ask you a question. Have you done a deal like this in the past and it didn't work?
No.
Have you known somebody that did this in the past and it didn't work?
No, I think the problem is I just never heard of this type of thing. It just seems kind of like unusual to me and unorthodox.
Right.
It's not usual. That's what I think. That's what's bugging me, I guess.
So what have you heard that was usual?
Well, you get the realtor, wait to them. They find a buyer and you sell the house. They get a bank loan, you do the usual.
Right.
Realtors.
So I'm going to tell you, Peter, that every time I've done this, I've never had somebody answer me that way.
Really?
Yeah. Never.
Oh, okay.
Every single time it's like, yeah, I had a friend that did it, or my father was in the rental business and he got burned all the time.
Oh,
or
okay.
it always goes back. I've never had anybody answer me that way. Or maybe if they did, I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never had anybody answer me that way.
Right, because I'm just thinking that some people haven't heard of this type of thing. We know buyers haven't heard of it. They're shocked when they know they can buy a house on a lease and then buy it later. So I know people don't always know about this.
So let's just role play it the way you were doing it, because it's not what I was talking about here. But let me answer your question. So go back. So I've never heard of this before. Start from there.
Yeah. So it's just that I've never heard of this type of thing.
Okay. So what makes you nervous about it?
Good question, huh, Bill? Good one.
Yeah.
Well, what if the person doesn't pay?
Okay, so that's another one that we should cover.
We can cover probably half the list just right here, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
What makes me nervous about it? So what if the person doesn't pay?
Yeah, so I don't want to do that now because there's a whole answer by itself, right? So
okay.
we should let's just move on, because that's like I want to finish this and then we'll move on to that. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, that'll spawn the
so
rest of them.
let me just give you a couple things that I would say. If
Sure.
I put it in writing, would that help you?
Well, if you made it like official, like notarized or lawyer or something, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you right now, you're a total suspect. I would waste you in about 30 seconds or less.
Mm.
So I'm going to just end the role playing because you went down a rabbit hole that I would never go down. I would put my back up and I would pretty much tell you, go to hell. You don't need my services. You're a jerk. See ya.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're going to hear from a person, if you're in a house with somebody saying to you what Peter's saying to me right now, you did a shitty job pre-screening. You should not be in that house.
Right, because the person should be in a position where he does need to make a move on the property. He does need to do something and not just be sitting there wasting your time, our time.
Right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, good. All right, good. So what are we going to do next?
Well, here's one. when we do this, we have a person. So it goes like this. So you're telling me that you have a person that doesn't qualify to get a mortgage, but so he'll lease it for a year or so and then get the mortgage. What if it doesn't work out that he can't get the mortgage then?
Right.
What if he doesn't qualify for a mortgage?
So, that's a little bit deeper of a question, but I'm going to kind of just rattle through it, okay?
Yeah.
So you're asking me if the buyer doesn't qualify for a mortgage when it's time for them to pay it off. You're not asking me when it's like they can't get a mortgage now. It's like the 2 years went by.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you say it takes a year or two, and then they get qualified, they get their credit straightened out. What if they don't?
Okay, so I just want to clarify that's the right way. That's why I'm stumbling around, okay? So
yeah.
first, we do lots of homework before we let the buyer in the house and select someone who is very likely to qualify. Okay, does that make sense?
So you screen people you don't just take anybody.
Yeah, and it's not just like their credit score. There's a lot of other factors. We make sure that they are likely to qualify.
Okay.
All right. Plus, they will have substantial skin in the game, which makes them motivated to get their money to pay off the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You mean
However,
deposit?
Sometimes it's deposit, sometimes it's other things.
Yeah.
You know, like it could be cosigners, or it could be, it could be stocks. They have substantial skin in the game.
So they don't want to just walk away. They want to make this work too.
Right.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Hmm?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. However, if that did happen, and you have control over the property, right? In other words, you're collecting the rents, and they decided to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I would come in. If you call me, I would come in, and I would do the deal again. Find another buyer and do the deal again.
Okay.
Okay. How about this though? How about if we do this? How about if I give you a guarantee? Would that help you?
Yeah. Well, how would you guarantee it? What would that be?
So what I'd be willing to do is if we do this deal and we sign a 2-year lease and I put my tenant buyer in there and they don't qualify at the end of 2 years, I'm going to call you up and I'm going to ask you, do you want to keep this going for a year or two because you're satisfied with it? And you say no. I will guarantee the deal by getting a high-power realtor to sell it for you. I'll orchestrate the entire transaction, and all you need to do is just answer my questions when I call you, and I'll do this for no fee. You'll have to pay the realtor fee, but I will not charge you the consulting fee to run the realtor and get the house sold. So if you're moving to Alaska, you don't have to worry about being here. We will FedEx you documents or send you electronic documents. All you need to do is talk to me. I'm going to be your boots on the ground to make sure this house gets sold safely.
Mm. Okay. That certainly helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The question then would be, done this way, you can get rid of the house now. Move on with your life and know the deal is done, right?
Mm. Yeah.
That wouldn't work for you, would it?
Well, maybe. I think I can see how it would. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're reeling back in a little, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's important, like you reminded me in the last question that I kind of went that a ways and became a suspect, that we are dealing with people that do want to sell the house, and they usually are not in a position just to wait and wait and wait and wait. They do have to make a move. They do have some motivation to move ahead. So they'll be more willing to say yes. And we've seen plenty of those. They say yes all the way through because they see that we can help them, and it's enables them to just leave and get on with things.
Right.
That's the screening, pre-qualifying, and all that.
Right. Actually, to be honest with you, I thought you were going to ask me how come I don't just buy the house.
Well, I'm thinking of that, but you made me think on the term thing to ask how long it might actually go. If one person doesn't do it, then there's another person. Like how long could this go? How many terms can we go on this?
All right. So you want to deal with how long is the term, or do you want to deal with why don't you buy it?
Well, I was thinking the term thing, just based on how it was going. I can do the other one, but it was just in my mind. What if one guy doesn't do it? Then I get another guy. Well, how long could the term actually be then?
Okay, so here's how I would answer that.
Yep.
Well, that's up to you and I to set. Frankly, the longer time I have to pay you off, the more I can pay for the house.
Oh, man, stop there. Stop. I like that answer. And that's true, because the time enables us to pay a little more. So instead of it being a problem, see, this is what you do that I like. When something slips, you fill it in with something as a benefit. Like it's like a seesaw. One side goes down, the other side goes up.
And that's the hardest part with flipping, which is why I use that word flipping my coaching clients, is because they talk in features, not the benefits. They talk about all the minutia of how it's going to work, and they lose the person instead of talking about just the benefits.
So the guy in this case is worrying about, what if it goes on for 4 years, 5 years, and you come back with, I pay you more.
Okay, good. So before I move on, I just want to make a point here. You notice that when I did the longer answer, I took it in increments and made sure you understood before I went on to the next part. Like the last one.
Yeah, you
that
don't
makes
just
sense.
rattle them.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay, good. How about this? And then I give you another chunk of data. And then you still tracking with me? Okay, good. Right? And I keep moving. So we're going to do that with this. So the answer, so now we're back on how long is the term, right?
Yep.
That's what we're talking about. And I said to you, well, that's up to you and I to set. Frankly, the longer time I have to pay off the house, the more I can pay.
I like the way that sounds.
Now check this out. I'm a Mac user. Okay, you can hold that against me if you want, but I'm a Mac user. If I had a $2,500 computer, or forget about how much it's worth. If I had a computer and I was going to sell it to you for $1,000 today, and you paid me cash $1,000, how much are you paying for the computer?
$1,000.
$1,000, right? It's not a trick question, right? But if you were to swipe your credit card and pay for that computer over the next 24 or 36 months, do you agree that you would pay more?
$1,179.
Okay, so that's exactly what we're going to do with your house. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so
is that like when I pay my mortgage down? It might be a $180,000 mortgage, but because it takes me 30 years, it's $390,000.
Right, exactly. It's the same thing. Okay, so now you're just on the benefit side of this. Okay.
I like that comparison because people hate the fact that they have to pay a bank,
right?
And it drags on, and you look at the statement, and you go, "Man, I paid so much," right? But you put the person in that position, like he gets to be the beneficiary of that instead of the loser.
That's right. And I want you to know, this is very, very important. I want you to know that it's the time period that you give me to pay the house off in full that entices me to want to do this deal with you. So the longer time you give me, the more I'm going to pay you, the more I'm going to want to do the deal.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready for the question?
Yeah.
What's the most you think you can do?
Wait a minute. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Because we were explaining it as we do it. So what's the most?
The most time? Oh, the longest time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking money, like $1 million. No, the longest time. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the longest term you can do.
Yeah. What's the longest time you can give me would be another way to put it. See how that works? So you're asking how long is the term? You say, well, That's up to you and I. Frankly, the longer time I have to pay off the house,
Yeah.
the more I can pay. You do the $1,000 computer thing so he understands that payments means more money to him. And then it's the time period to get you paid in full that makes the deal attractive to me. What's the most you think you can do?
Well, I guess 5 years would be okay.
See? It puts you in the frame of mind.
Well, pushing the frame of mind is that you're turning a problem into a benefit. This is crazy.
Right.
But that's how anything has to be.
Right.
You know, you want the deluxe burger, well, you pay for the extra stuff. Or, you know, if you're working harder, you want me to come in on Saturday to work, boss? Damn it.
Right.
Oh, double time? Okay, I'll be right there.
Right.
But everything has to work like that. It's a give and take.
Exactly.
So instead, when you hit what seems to be a barrier, this is what I like about how you work with people. You flip it so it's a benefit for them somehow, and it also benefits you. So we have to make it work for everybody, or otherwise you walk away.
Exactly. What we call, well, that's being a reluctant buyer.
Yep.
Right? Because what we haven't talked about, and we're not going to talk about today, why am I so easy to be a reluctant buyer?
Because of your magnificent marketing machine.
No.
No.
Well, I'm not worried about it because I don't, it's not that way right now, but I usually have plenty of leads. The reason why I'm willing to be a reluctant buyer is because I know time changes everything, and 34% of all my deals are going to come from follow-up. So yeah, I might be a reluctant buyer today, but when I come back at you in 30 days or 60 days or 90 days when you haven't sold the house, you are definitely going to be, as a seller, a lot more humble.
No.
So
you can't force anybody to do these things. We're not. We're not pitching and selling like, you know, look at the roof line on that Cadillac. You know, you have to have this. People will think you're smart. We don't have to force anybody. So if it doesn't work, you come back later. Sometimes.
So one of the other things that comes up about this, you know, about this type of question is they say, why don't you buy it?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, why don't you buy it?
Right. So you would say to me, because we were talking about originally, right? You know, why doesn't the buyer qualify? So in other words, they're saying, well, instead of selling it to the tenant, why don't you just buy it?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So
that comes up quite a bit. Okay. So I would say, well, for me to pay the price you're asking, I would need to work with a buyer that would take over the payments on the house and then get qualified in the future. This way, they can pay the higher amount. If we did do a cash deal, I'm an investor and would need a deeper discount.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, you know, the funny thing about all this, it's just all the truth.
Right.
So you can't get flustered because somebody asks you a question. You really have to ask yourself, well, what's the truth about this?
Right.
What's the real truth that benefits him, maybe benefits me, and everybody wins? It's really just the truth.
Which brings me on. So let's go back. So I'm going to start over again. So they say, why don't you just buy it? And I would say,
why don't you just buy it?
Right. Well, for me to pay the price you're asking, I would need to work with a buyer that would take over the payments on the house, then get qualified in the future. This may be, I'm sorry, I have attention on the phone's blowing up on my desk over here. This may be the only way we can get you a higher price.
Yeah.
If we did a cash deal now, I'm an investor and would need to take a deeper discount to make the deal work for everyone in the deal. I obviously need to make some kind of profit, otherwise it wouldn't be fair. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
If I buy it right now with all cash, it could not be the best deal for you, by the way.
Yeah.
And every time I give my cash offer, I always preface it with, this is the worst offer I can give you. This is not a good deal. But if you want to do it, I will.
It's funny. It's true. You do that. And sometimes the person just wants to get rid of it, and they'll do that.
Yep.
Deep discount. So no matter either way, you're going to win.
So then the question I would follow up with would be, do you think you can wait a little bit to get a higher price without paying a commission? So you're going to give him a higher price and not charge him a commission.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 2 strikes forward, 1 strike. Well, for waiting, that's what he gets. You know.
Right. Okay, good. Next.
Well, just in general, like maybe get to the end of this and the person gets it, but they haven't seen anything in writing. They might not be familiar with this. So, can you send me some information?
Oh yeah.
Or if you're already in the house, like, can you leave me with information?
So I'm going to
look it over, go over it with my wife, show it to my lawyer and my brother-in-law, so somebody can talk me out of this deal.
So I'm going to answer this question, but I want you to know I'm going to reluctantly do it.
Okay.
Because if they're telling you that, then you didn't do a good job of explaining the deal. You confused them.
Yeah.
And they feel like they need to get an outside source or a third party to explain it to them because they're too embarrassed to tell you, I didn't understand what you just said to me.
Mm.
Or they may not even know they don't understand it. They may be confused and not even realize it.
Which is, again, our fault for not
Yep.
paying attention and looking when the person's just twitching his eye, you know, and his lip is quivering instead of asking him, did you not understand something? But this is an okay question if you're just on a phone with somebody. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's going to happen. It happens still to me to this day. It's going to happen because you could explain the whole thing perfectly well, and they were distracted because their kid was doing something or because the dog was chewing on. It's so many things could distract them. So I just want you to understand when I give you my answer why it is the way it is, because that's what I think. I think that they did something. So they say, can you send me some information? And I would respond with, I wouldn't know what to send you. If you sell with owner financing or a lease option to buy, the next step for me to do is to go look at the house. Right? You didn't buy the house without looking at it first, did you? You didn't buy the house without looking at it first, did you? That's a huge question. Once I do that, I can send you some offers. We get the legal beagles involved if you want, and we'll move on. Does that work for you?
Right. So I know people will ask this question on the phone, because I get that. Do they... I forget if they ask in the house. What do they ask in the house? Like, if say you go through the whole thing, the whole spiel, do they still ask this sometimes?
So they don't, but if they do, we have a credibility pack that we would give them with everything that we explained.
Yeah, so they trust us more.
Which I don't.
Factor of trust.
Yeah, which I don't do very much anymore. I carry them with me, but I seldom give them out.
Yeah.
But often I'll write the offer on the back of the credibility pack. There's a page to write the offer out. Usually the credibility packs work best if they're like, if you did a bad job and didn't have both both sellers in the house, a husband and wife, or mother and daughter, or whatever, father and son, whatever it is, then you can at least use the presentation pack to get the information translated over to the other person.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that happens. I mean, you know that how many times you get in a house and you tell them we need to be there 60 to 90 minutes, and they get there and they're like, I only have 15 minutes, I have an appointment.
Yeah.
Or my husband was supposed to be here, but something happened at work, so he told me to just listen to what you guys have to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It happens, right? Now, I want you to understand for 16 plus years, that's how I handled that. But since the end of 2019, I've changed that. Okay? So now what I would say to somebody like that is, how about I send you 3 offers today and we could talk about it in a few days.
Yeah.
And I would use my offer calculator, which if you want to know how to get that, just send me a support ticket to flippinghouses.com. Top right hand side, contact us, and I'll send you a link so you can go get it. I think we sell, I have been during the pandemic, I don't know how long it's going to last that way, but I've been selling the offer calculator, which you just put 5 comps in there off of sites like Zillow and ePraiser and RealQuest and all those kind of sites. You put the appraisals in there, it automatically manufactures 3 deals for you: a cash deal, a slot deal, and a lease option deal. You take those, which we're working on right now, so you don't even have to do this anymore, but you take those deals off of that and you plug them into my 8-page offer pack and you send it to them. And the 8-page offer pack not only has the offers, but it answers a lot of these questions that we're talking about, and it handles a lot of stuff. So it surprises me that my students don't know how to answer these questions, because if you just go read the frequently asked questions in the offer pack, it handles a lot of this, because a lot of this stuff is written and in that pack. But the point is, which by the way and I also put the script in there. I put the text script in there and the phone script on how you would talk to them, and I sell it for $37. So it's like, and I got the 1-page lease option in there too. So you get the calculator, you get the offer pack, the 8-page offer pack, you get the script for texting and for the phone, and you get the 1-page lease option document for $37. That's like a total Rob job.
So when you're in the house, you can just take that 1 page and do the lease and do the option on 1 page. Real simple, just to get the deal kind of
you could, yes.
Cemented.
Yes, you could. Okay. But if they're on the phone, then nowadays we say, how about if we send you 3 offers? You actually go use the offer calculator. It like literally takes like 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you're challenged with computers. But 5 or 10 minutes. You put the comps into the calculator. The calculator makes the offers for you. You put them on the Word document. You email it to them. We put them in the mail. We actually put them in an envelope and put them in the mail and mail them to them. And then 4 or 5 days later, we call them and say, "What'd you think of the offer?" Okay, so if they're looking for information, that's what we send them now. In the past, if they're really adamant and don't want you to come look at the house until it's time, then we would send them on the flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. There's a document called Lease Option Explained. We would send that document. It's a 5-page document explaining everything. It also covers the point where you don't have to have a website, because that 5-page document like covers anything you would need. You just print it, you sign it. You'll have to change the last page because it's got my name and stuff on it. But anyways, that's what you could do. Okay, so once we did all of that, here's the question. Okay, because we have to have a question at the end. So if we can agree on all the numbers and how the deal is going to go, or how it's going to work, right? Are you ready to sell the house now? Or is there something or someone else you have to check with? Right? Because you don't, what you're trying to do here is because you're giving them a scapegoat to get off the phone with you. Well, how about if I send you 3 offers and it's a good reason for them to get off the phone? They don't have to misdirect you now.
Yeah.
And then they look at the 3 offers and they're like, no way I would do this. And they ghost you, which happens a lot to my coaching clients because they don't ask this question. If we can come together on the numbers and the deal's going to look like it's going to work for you, are you ready to sell the house now? Or is there something else or someone else that you have to check with? So if they say, if I got to talk to my husband, then it's like, okay, can we get him on the phone now? Or before I send the offer, let's chat with him. Let's do a 3-way with him. Right? Because how many times have I seen that? The wife thinks she's going to, because she wants to move, because she wants to put a kid in this new school system, and the husband's like, I don't want to go through all that mortgage crap again. We're not doing that. Right? And then you send the information to the wife, and then the husband's like, you get him on the phone, and he's like, I'm not doing this. Why do you have me on the phone with this guy? He'll say, stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's so many variations of it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So what my coaching clients are missing is this right here, because they'll send offers, they'll pump out offers, but they're not really getting that question answered. And that's on the script that I just talked about for $37 too, by the way. They're just not getting that answer.
Yeah.
And
because
so,
you want to find out if they're ready to do it, or there's something else in the way. So, do you need to handle this person or something else? But you have to know what you need to handle.
Right. Which goes back to
How do
what
you
we were
fix it?
talking about before. What's plan A, what's plan B? So I mean, it could be an answer like one time I had a girl, I mean, I've actually had this a couple times. It'll be June, and it'd be like, well, not really, because I want to have one more Christmas in the house with my kids. My daughter's going off to college next year, so she wants to have Christmas here one more time before I sell the house. Or, it's April, and they're saying, well, yeah, I want to do the deal, but I want my son to graduate from high school. He's been going to school his whole life here, and I don't want to pull him out of school the last 3 months of school, right? So in that particular case, you would say, what if we did the paperwork now and you moved then?
Oh, that's good. So the idea there is go as far as you can in your activities, your agreements, paperwork even, because that solidifies things. It's written on a piece of paper. And just date it for that, or
Yep.
you okay? Otherwise, if you say, okay, I'll call you back, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Because you have to start all over again.
Well, you want,
And
like I
anything
said,
can happen in 2 months, 3 months.
like I said in the beginning, that's right. So like I said in the beginning is, you want agreements that are real.
Yeah.
You don't want a pretender. You don't want to have what do they call a passive aggressive person on the other end that will lie to you, and cheat on you, and do all the things that they do to everybody else in their life. You know what I mean? So it's like you want to get through that social veneer as much as you can and find out what you're really dealing with. All right, so we're getting late in the podcast. We're way over time here, so let's do a couple more, Peter. What else you got?
Well, what comes to mind now? You've got like an offer in. What do we do like when they want some kind of documentation to show an attorney?
So the seller wants to send the documents to the attorney trick, eh?
Right, and so far we've gotten like offers sent to them. Can you show them that, or you need something else?
So the first thing that you got to realize is that, let me just answer it this way. So you asked me that question, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you say you want to send the documents to an attorney. Here's how I would answer it. I can't send a contract, nor can your attorney review it until we come to some sort of the meeting of the minds here.
Right, so once we decide on like one of the offers, then you write it up, then you send it, then you have something to agree on. That's actual.
But we haven't come to the meeting of the minds yet. We haven't agreed. So it's like whatever I write is what our verbal agreement is, and then you read it and I read it to make sure that we're both heard it the same way.
Yeah.
Right? Then you say, plus I have found, so the first thing you would say is, I can't send a contract, nor can your attorney review it until we have a meeting of the minds. In other words, we agree. Right? Plus, I have found if you understand our deal completely, you will understand the attorney's advice a lot better. Most attorneys are not in the position and often give overprotective advice that causes you not to do the deal or not to sell and ends up giving you more problems in the end.
That last one is good. That's a very clever way to say, those damn lawyers blow up the deals because they don't understand them and they don't want to jeopardize themselves. They just don't do it. You're always safer not to do stuff, except you're not, because you need to do stuff. You need to sell the house.
Now watch
don't sell
this.
the house. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Now watch this. And you keep talking. Normally you would stop and ask the question after they acknowledge you, but in this particular case, I would keep talking. And I would say, would it make you feel better if I sent you a letter of intent?
Oh.
And you and your legal counsel can review it, and then if you feel like everything's cool, we can push forward.
Okay, so you would have those 3 offers you do. They would have to pick one. Then you send a letter of intent?
Or just send the 3 offers.
As a letter of intent? Or just
Well, that's what the offer pack is a letter of intent.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
But here's my point. You ready?
Yeah.
How long did it take with the offer calculator and the offer pack to make this deal? To make this 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
So, throw it out there And 1 out of 10 attorneys will be like, yeah, you could do a lease option. That would be okay. And you get a deal. But you set it and forget it.
Yeah, as
Let
long as
it
you're not
go.
wasting a lot of time chasing something that might
Right.
not work out.
Or
Go as far as you can.
or doing a deal in your mind that's not a real deal, as I call mental masturbation, right? So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Let's move on to another one. We'll do 2 more.
Okay. Sometimes we're worried about if the tenant stops paying the monthly payments. So what do you do? What do you do if the tenant stops paying?
Okay.
Send Guido and Luigi over.
So,
Well, this could be 2 different scenarios if it's a slot deal or a lease option where we're still in the deal, right?
right. So, you're saying that you put the person in the house,
Yeah.
right? And they've been there for a while, and then they just stop paying the rent? Is that what you mean by stop paying?
Yeah.
Okay. So the seller sitting in front of you asking you, what if the seller stops paying the rent? Are you going to keep paying me? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, or just what happens? Do I get stuck with it? And how do I evict them? All that would come across his mind.
Right. So I would answer something like this. If we're still in the deal and managing the property because you gave us 15% equity in 20 or 25% cash flow, I would pay it. But if I didn't stay in the deal and you were collecting the payments directly, call me, let me handle things, and we'll get them out, and we could do another deal so you don't have to have the hassles or troubles of dealing with all that crap.
Okay.
So basically, if it's a rent-to-own or a lease option deal and I'm getting, I'm in it, then I'm guaranteeing the payments. If
Yeah.
it's a slot deal, then just call me and we'll do it.
No help him. Okay.
Next.
How about how much can you give me for a down payment?
I thought you were going to do that one way earlier, to be honest with you. You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is a highly technical response. But you got to have balls to do it.
Yeah.
And you will after you do it a couple times and you realize they were taking a shot at you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You ready?
Yep.
Generally, we don't give a down payment.
But isn't that the truth? All I'm saying in all your brilliant answers, these are the truth. You don't have to look for some cockamamie crazy answer. You take the truthful answer and just say it the right way.
Generally, we don't give a down payment. Mostly because often our profit comes from the difference between what we have to give you and what the buyer gives us.
Mm.
What's the least you can do?
Right. Do you
Now,
ever ask if they need it for something?
No. Hang on. You keep diverting here.
Yeah, that's my job.
So, answer the question. Is that the
Okay.
least you could do?
What's the least I could do?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like 5,000.
Okay. Is that the best you can do?
3,000.
Okay. Is that absolutely the best you can do?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to, just not take anything because I'm relinquishing my whole house. I want to have something.
Makes sense.
Mm.
So if I don't give you 3,000, will that kill the deal?
Well, don't I get some kind of a down payment because I'm selling the house? That's normal, isn't it?
Right. So if I don't give you the 3,000, you're going to let me walk away?
Well, I guess I don't need it for anything particular. But I need moving money.
Okay.
I guess that's I need moving money though.
How about if I give you $1,000?
That would help me with the moving. Okay.
See?
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of confront to do that, but when you do it a few times and you realize they're just taking a shot at you.
Well, the real reason for down payments is the bank wants a down payment because they don't want to lend somebody 100% on a house and get stuck with it.
No.
You're saying no.
No, it's greed.
No, but I'm saying that's the reason. I mean, banks don't have to do it either?
No.
They could lend 100%?
Well, old philosophy is if you have skin in the game, you won't walk away.
Yeah, okay.
That's old philosophy.
But my point is, like, banks do that because that's the system. But a private person isn't a bank. He's just a person. He doesn't need a down payment. And
Right.
He's got the house. He's got payments. He's got equity in the house. The lease is still in his name already. He's not a bank.
Right.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
All right, good. Next.
I want to check with my father-in-law because he's pretty smart.
Okay. I've never heard that one before, so I don't even know how to answer that.
Oh, no, I think you answered that before. Oh, wait a minute. I know which one. What happens if my lender finds out and he wants me to pay the whole mortgage off because somebody's living there?
Right, so that would be in the conversation of a subject to deal, because that comes up a lot, right? It wouldn't be in a lease or a slot deal or anything like that. It wouldn't. Actually, I've had some people tell me that they need to call their lender and see if they could lease it. So I have had that, right? So I would kind of, I kind of have a short answer and a long answer. I'm going to do the short answer today because we have to get out of here. But and if we get enough likes on this, Peter, I'll do this again next week, and we could do more role playing. But if I don't get likes and reviews, or if I don't get some activity off of this podcast, then we won't do another segue. Okay, I'll just write it in a book and give it to my clients, coaching clients, and that's it, right? So you're asking me if the lender would call the loan due.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I would start off with that may be possible, but it's unlikely. Right? The lender makes money by loaning the money and getting paid on the interest.
Yeah.
Right? That's why they made the loan in the first place.
Yeah, they really like loans. My kid worked for the bank. They really like loans.
Right. As long as they keep collecting regularly, it would be a terrible decision on the bank's part to stop doing the loan. Why would they give up all that money?
Yeah, that is their job, huh?
Right? But if that really bothers you, we can do a lease to own on the transaction, and we won't have to worry about the deed transferring or anything like that, and we could still do a deal.
Okay. Yes. So you can always go from subject to just a regular lease if that makes you nervous.
Right, which is how I do almost every one of my deals because, well, first of all, I want to say this before I go on to that. So then the question would be, how would you like to proceed? In other words, do you want to do a subject to or do you want to do a lease option? Right? But I always start my calls because I'm not worried about what I say and how I say it. I'm not worried about blowing deals up. I'm not worried about pissing people off. I'm not worried about anything, actually. I think the fear gene has left me forever. Okay? I always start off my deals with, would you be willing to sell the house for what you owe on it? And I don't care if they owe $1.
Oh, come on.
I swear to God.
You don't even do like the close percentage thing? Come on, really?
Nope. Because if they say, well, I own it for $1, I'm like, yeah, would you be willing to sell it? I make a joke out of it. Then I would say to them, then in that case, I would say to them, what's the least you can do?
Yeah.
You know, I would just kind of pull it back, right? But I don't expect students or listeners to do any of that. So my point is I try often to start with, would you sell me the house for what you owe on it? And then the next thing I say to them is, okay, well, what'd you have in mind?
Yep.
Right? And then I always then, once I realize I'm not going to do a subject to deal, then turn it into a lease option or a slot deal. But that's just my modus operandi. That's what I do on almost every one of my leads. Unless I know that it's deeply discounted and we're not going to do that, then I just don't even go there. But I always put my first foot forward as a subject to deal because those are my favorite.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
I think we've had enough, huh?
Yeah, I can't think of any more.
Oh yeah, well we'll do that. Well, maybe next time
If I
we'll
do episode 2.
Yeah, we'll do episode 2. All right. So at the end of the day, what I want you to realize is, or everybody listening, right? At the end of the day, Peter, here's what we have to offer our sellers. And you need to understand this because these are the benefits that I'm like circling all these answers around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We're first thing is that we're trying to convert our seller from a homeowner to being an investor.
Mm.
So we're working on taking their asset and keeping it performing without the liabilities.
Yeah.
So you have to say that without saying that, right? So you have to show them where you have hands-off, where they have hands-off investing, and it's completely safe. You have to show them that the payments are going to be guaranteed, right? Or not that the payments are going to be guaranteed. There's going to be a repercussion of considerable magnitude that the person would make the payments instead of the other thing.
Right.
Right? Like they might lose too much money. So the security comes in, that's what a bank does. That's what a mortgage is. A mortgage is connecting the note to the asset and making it a collateral.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
if they don't pay the mortgage, they lose the house.
Right.
That's good incentive.
Right. Which is why most mortgage companies are much stricter with investors because they don't live in the house. But if you live in the house and you lose the roof over your head, then you're going to want to make your payments.
Yeah.
Right? Also, you're going to want to emphasize that if you stay in the deal, you're a glorified property manager that's getting paid a shit ton of money. Right? Because you're gonna collect $300, $400, $500. Some of my properties have $1,000 a month positive cash flow.
Yeah.
I want to stay at that deal. I want to make sure that my mortgage gets paid because I want my $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have to make sure you do that. So no property management for our seller that you're converting into being an investor.
Yeah.
Okay. And you also have to emphasize that even though they're collecting rents, there are no tenant hassles. There's no people interaction other than me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Also, you have to push that they're going to get a higher return on their investment, which is why you're asking them, what are you going to do with the money? Let me give you a quick example. I know we're late into the show here, but let me give you a quick example. Well, I'm going to sell this hot property because I got, $50,000 worth of equity, and I lost my business during COVID, and I have a problem with money, and now my taxes are due on my house, and I don't have the money, so I'm going to sell my rental property and take the cash and pay the taxes for my house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in that particular case, because when you ask him, what are you going to do with the money? He tells you, watch this. What if I paid the taxes for you? Would you sell me the house? Now what you could do is you can go to the town hall and make an agreement with the town hall or the tax man, the tax assessor, that you're going to pay monthly payments and pay off that $50,000.
Yep.
Because the money's already borrowed, so just go use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the seller's going to get a higher price for the property, and you're going to solve his problem of the taxes. It's a win-win-win-win all the way.
That's right.
And the reason why we use these, and you gave a great analogy today, use these hurdles, is to get to that. When I say we peel back the onion, we got to get to that core onion part where he actually says, Well, I'm selling the house because I got to pay my taxes.
Yeah.
Now you're at the beginning of deal structuring. It might have taken you an hour and a half to get there, but now you can do deal structuring.
Bill, why can't people tell you in the beginning why they're doing it?
Yeah, exactly. Also, the other thing is, I talk a lot about, seller goggles, right? Seller goggles. What kind of goggles do they have on,
Rose colored?
Yeah, some of them are rose colored. So there's usually it breaks down to two types of sellers. One that sees his property as an asset and he wants money from it, or one that sees his property as a liability and it's costing him money.
Yeah.
So those people that have it considered to be a liability in their mind want relief. So that's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right? If you find those people that want relief, you could, like you just said, they tell you up in the beginning why they want to sell the house. It's like, I moved to, I got one right now. The girl, one of my coaching clients, the girl moved to California, has a house in Connecticut. A couple of years ago, there was a microburst, a mini tornado that went through, and it broke the roof. And the house has been vacant for 2 years with water leaking in it, and she owes $200,000. She's telling my student, "Oh yeah, you can take it subject to, you do whatever you want with the house, just take over the payments," because she's been in California making those payments for 2 years on a house that is full of mold.
Wow, that doesn't sound smart. Holy cow!
But it happens.
Yeah.
So she wants relief. She is ultimately motivated, right?
Wow, that's weird.
The last thing I want to say before we end off is that if you figure out how you see, a lot of people, when they decide they want to sell their house, have some mock-up in their head of what they're going to do. So in other words, they want to move on with their life. It's a new chapter or a new beginning or whatever it may be, right? If you could figure that out and help them get towards that, you're better off. So that's why we say, if you do a deal with me now, you can move on with your life, because a vast majority of people are trying to do that. The house is in the way of them getting their new lifestyle, whatever it may be. It could be a guy and a girl that are divorced. They meet. They have everything set up. They both have houses. They both have everything in jobs. Everything's paid. But now they're with one another every night, and they don't need two houses. Yep. So it's like, why keep paying $1,500 a month when I don't need it? Or it could be as simple as mom and dad passed away and they left us this house with 50 years worth of crap in it, and we don't want to clean it out.
I have one of my music students doing that right now. And how's the house coming? Every week, like, more crap. And they're just week after week after week after week. But they've already, we're seeing it to the end. So I stayed out of the way on that one. They were in the middle of it. But it's not fun.
Yeah.
There goes, we're here, nice weather. And there's the weekends.
I had a guy one time that sold me a house, and he was moving to Canada. His wife was from Toronto. She wanted to be back with her family. He was having their second child. She wanted to be around her family to help with the kids. And he was working for some corporation and got a job that literally paid him another $150,000 a year to be in Canada. So
Buy house.
He went from a $200,000 job to a $350,000 job. So he could afford to pay the payments, but he was he didn't want the house to be vacant, because now he's got to go back and forth between Canada and he's got to make all these. He didn't want to do that. So I was his solution. In that particular case, which we don't talk about very much, I've done quite a bit, but we don't talk about it much. You got a $2,000 a month mortgage payment. On a lease option, you can offer the guy $1,500, and he's got to put in the other $500.
Yeah.
Right. So if the payments are too high, doesn't mean you can't do the deal. It just means that they got to take less money.
Right, because who made the too high payment? They did, so they have to eat it. Unfortunately.
More importantly, paying $500 is a lot better than paying $2,000.
That's right.
Right.
It's the lesser of evils.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Peter. So we went a little long today, but we're in a deep subject here. We keep getting longer and longer with these podcasts. But I got to tell you that when we do them like this, we get more downloads. I get more support tickets. It's been really fantastic. I love the patronage and the support with the people that listen to us. Thank you so much for being there. Make sure you subscribe to your channel or our channel. Whatever podcast platform you use, just hit the subscribe button so you know when we get new episodes, which come out every Monday. And then make sure you leave us reviews. Honest to God, Peter, I know I'm being a jerk, but we gave away the house today. This is stuff that we go over. This is what we go over on coaching calls that the guys pay hundreds of dollars to be on. So if I don't get them, then honestly, I'm going to take it down. Because I want reviews, because I think we poured our guts out today. Or at least
this is more like a workshop, really.
Yeah. It's like a mastermind group, So go check us out, flippinghousesforrookies.com. There's lots of free stuff there, and get going. Let me know if you do a deal. All right, Peter. We're over and out. We'll do it next week.
See you, folks.
Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.